Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Sports Speak. I am one of your lovely and dashing hosts who's wearing a mask now, Jared Smith, and alongside me is...
Or across from you is Alexis Yoder, also wearing a mask. First episode in person, Jared. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, celebration. Jared, how are you doing?
You know, I'm okay. It's rather snowy out today.
Yeah. How many times did you slip trying to come into this building?
Whoa. I don't slip. I'm a ballerina. Twice. But how many times did you slip coming in?
I mean, I wouldn't say slip. I would say more or less I stepped in puddles of slush when I was trying to get in this building. And then I walked to Subway to get my lunch/dinner. My whole entire foot sank under all that slush. So, yeah, it was worth it for that Subway cookie.
The cookie?
The cookie is what made it worth it.
What type of cookie did you eat?
Chocolate chip.
What about macadamia?
They didn't have it on the app, Jared. We've been over this. I don't know why. I would have gotten it. I would have gotten it.
Macadamia nut. That's the nut to go with.
That's your endorsement for a cookie at Subway, and mine is going to be chocolate chip. Yes.
And we're not even going to get into that oatmeal raisin, but I think you're sleeping on it. But anyway.
Okay, so let's get into what we're talking about today, Jared.
All right, everybody, let's get into some wins and losses. First up, we have women's volleyball at Ohio State, where they lost 2-3. But then they play Indiana, where they won 3-1 and 3-0 on another day. Next, we have men's volleyball at Sacred Heart University, where they won 3-1. Next up, this is what the category I want to get into. Men's basketball versus Ohio State University, where they lost 82-92. And just recently, men's basketball at University of Iowa, where they lost 68-74. Lex, what are your thoughts on this game?
I mean, these are two close games against ranked opponents that they were winnable games for Penn State. They had leads in both of these games, and they just threw them away like they've done in countless other games this season. But, you know, these two games were against ranked opponents. They hung with Ohio State earlier in the season, which shows that, you know, this Penn State team playing without Lamar Stevens, Mike Watkins, crucial players from last season, and they're still competing in all of these games. Now, it would be nice for them to benefit their tournament hopes or, you know, give them some confidence going into the Big Ten tournament that they could get a ranked win under their belts, but, you know, they just need to play better with the lead. They just need to play with confidence at the end of games and not let teams like this go on runs like that. And I think they should have been more prepared going in against Iowa, considering that Luka Garza was set to become Iowa's all-time leading scorer. So, you know, I think that they are playing better than people thought they were going to, but, you know, they have these leads late in the game, and they're not playing well with them. They need to figure out how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, Luka Garza, that man is a man on a mission. He is steadily improving as we see him more and more throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see what this Iowa team can do in the Big Ten tournament and even in the NCAA tournament.
They're tall.
They are tall. So I don't know how Penn State hung with them as tough as they did, but you know what? Credit to them, they did it. But once again, I'm excited to see what this Iowa team can do in the Big Ten tournament and in the national championship tournament.
Yes, Iowa is continuing their national tournament push, but let's continue on with wins and losses now. Women's basketball at Iowa, where they also lost 78-96. Women's basketball at Nebraska, where they lost 72-87. Women's soccer played at Rutgers University, where they lost 2-3. Men's soccer versus Maryland, where they won 3-2. Women's ice hockey played at RIT, where they won 5-0, and they also played against Rochester Institute of Technologies, where they won 5-0 on another day.
Good job, Jared, pronouncing RIT properly.
Yeah. Anyway, wrestling. played at Ohio State, where they won 28-12. And men's lacrosse played at Rutgers, where they lost 9-11. And women's lacrosse played against Maryland, where they won 15-13.
All right, everyone, stay tuned for our interview with one of the Daily Collegian's men's lacrosse reporters next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the interview. Here today we have Seth Engle. He is one of the Daily Collegian's men's lacrosse reporters. And so Seth, can you tell us a little bit about this Penn State men's lacrosse team?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, this team, the program has really turned around in the last few years. And this is kind of the last year with some of the really known guys on the team, like Mac O'Keefe, TJ Malone, Dylan Folds, Nick Hardeal, just to name a few. But last year, the team, a lot of people thought they could have won a national championship just based on talent alone. Unfortunately, the season got cut short. Now we got some guys returning for this season. So, they're still going to be competitive for sure. But without Grant Ament, like for last year, and some of the other guys who left, it's a much different team.
Seth, I wanted to bring up Grant Ament, like you said earlier. Obviously, he was a huge contributor on the offensive end, not just scoring goals, but providing assists to people like Mac O'Keefe and everybody else. So what's going to be the difference between last year's team and this year's team? Like who's going to have to step up offensively to sort of replace his production and his leadership?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Penn State offenses in years prior, I mean, Grant Ament is one of the greatest assist men in all of college lacrosse history. So without him, obviously things are going to look a lot different. But you still have Mac O'Keefe on that side of the ball, about to hold the record for most goals in a career in college lacrosse history. So, I mean, obviously without Grant, I don't know, things will look different for Mac. And in the Rutgers game on Friday, you could kind of see that without that facilitation that Grant could do, I don't know, they looked a little slow on the offense, and Mac only came away with one goal, but that was his first game without Grant since, I guess, 2018 when Grant was hurt the whole year. But
okay, Seth, so what is the identity of this Penn State men's lacrosse team so far, as they are, the season just started, and so what are some of the things that have been formulating for this team that they've done well?
Yeah, I mean, in the Rutgers game, I think the defense was pretty good for the most part. I think there's always an expectation that the offense is going to be great because it is an offense-heavy team, and it has been for the last few years. But this was, kind of the year where without Grant, there's going to need to be some guys to step it up. And I think in the Rutgers game, I think they only let up 11 goals, which was pretty good. Colby Knies looked great. I think when it really comes down to it, the offense just needs to reach that level of firepower that they've had in years prior, which has brought them to national prominence, Big Ten championship, and a Final Four run.
Seth, can you remind us of what the result was from men's lacrosse's first game for the season?
Yeah, so I believe the score was 11-9, and Rutgers won. At the time, we were 6th in the country. Now we dropped to 13. Rutgers moves into the top 10 now at number 9. So, I mean, Rutgers is a great team, and they definitely surprised me. They have two brothers who had phenomenal games, Connor and Colin Kirst. I forget which one. Oh, Colin is the goalie, and then Connor is an attackman. And you could really just see, like on both sides of the ball, there'd be a great save by Colin, and then on the other end, before you know it, Connor's doing his thing on the offense. So I mean, they looked really good. I was pretty surprised by Rutgers. I think the Big Ten is just super competitive right now. So Penn State, since they're getting right into Big Ten play right at the start of the season, games are just going to be more competitive. So Maryland on Friday, one of the best teams in the country, best team in the Big Ten by far. That'll be quite the showing.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, obviously men's lacrosse has been one of the better programs that Penn State has seen, that they've made countless runs at the national championship over the past couple of years. But what really hurt them in this loss? Was it, that the offense didn't really have its identity without Grant? They were trying to find, who's going to be that spark, or was it on the defensive end, or a combination of the two?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I really thought that the offense was a little just a little slow, a little behind, because when you have a guy like Grant on your offense for the past few years, he's a guy that makes everyone better. When you look at his stats, it's not the goals that pop out; it's the amount of assists. Like, he has 6th most assists all time in college lacrosse history. So, without him, it's kind of like having Magic Johnson. That's really the glue guy that holds everything together, makes everyone around him better. And that was, really prevalent in the game against Rutgers.
So, Seth, who are some other players that Penn State men's lacrosse fans should keep an eye out for, or other teams should be afraid of playing, and, make sure the scouting report is correct for that day?
Yeah, I mean, he only had one goal against Rutgers, but Mac O'Keefe, there's no, you can't possibly overstate how great he has been with Penn State, now in his 5th year of eligibility. When it's all said and done, it would be foolish to say that he's not one of the greatest attackmen of all time in college lacrosse. So he's a guy, only had one goal against Rutgers, but could easily come back for, a great game, and anytime he steps on the field. So that's one guy. But I mean, Nick Cardeal's another guy on the defense, wears number 16 in honor of Connor Darcy. And he's really our glue guy. It seems that Penn State usually has one or two guys on the defense who really hold everything together. There's Chris Sabia back in 2019 when they made their Final Four run and won the Big Ten championship. And Cardeal's kind of in that role right now. So he's another guy to look for.
So what does men's lacrosse need to improve upon in order to, get that win against an amazing Maryland team and to get back into the win column in general in an always tough Big Ten conference?
Yeah, it's really it's in the hands of the offense right now. I think if the defense can play like they did on Friday, then things should look pretty good. But it's really a matter of how the offense is going to facilitate and just find open looks. They have guys who can score. They have TJ Malone, Dylan Folds, and Mac O'Keefe, 3 proven attackmen. It's just a matter of getting them in good opportunities to score.
Okay, last question here for you, Seth, wrapping up. So who is that team that Penn State that's going to be a great game that is just okay, that's the game to look forward to watching in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's this upcoming Friday against Maryland. Maryland is easily the best team in the Big Ten, and they've proven that so far with the big win against Michigan on Friday. They're just phenomenal, and I don't think anyone really matches up with them in the Big Ten. This game's also going to be on Big Ten Network, so there are going to be a lot of people watching, and it's our first home game of the season. So, hopefully that draws a spark for the team. And but I think that should be a great one.
All right, Seth, thank you so much for joining us this week on Sports Speak. Stay tuned. We're going to wrap this show up next.
The men's lax team, man. Offense. That's what wins the games. I know a lot of people say defense, but at the end of the day, you got to put points up on the board.
Yeah, I agree. And going into this season, I really was thinking about how this offense is going to survive without Grant Ament. Like Seth said, it's not the goals that popped off the score sheet for him. It was the assists. It was like the facilitating role that he played, almost like the point guard in basketball. You got to have somebody to spark the offense, and that's what he did. And I'm really interested to see who's going to step up into that role of the facilitator. Whether it's Mac O'Keefe, whether it's Malone, you don't know. I'm not sure at this point yet, and I don't even think they know at this point. They couldn't put enough points on the board to beat Rutgers. They have Maryland coming up, which obviously Maryland is, like Seth said,
One of the best.
One of the best, if not the best team in the Big Ten. So, they're going to have their hands full this week, but, they just really need to find their facilitator on offense and really find an identity overall.
Somebody's got to step up for them.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right. You ready to get into our next segment, Jared?
It's new.
It's new. We have a new segment, and it is aptly called Bad Things Happen in Philly.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, Jared, what are we going to be talking about?
So, I have 3 options for you. Do you want to talk about Carson Wentz? Do you want to talk about the Winter Classic? Or do you want to talk about the 76ers?
I'm going to have to go with the Carson Wentz trade to the Indianapolis Colts.
Ooh.
I mean, did we really think that Carson Wentz was going to be playing with the Eagles this season? Did you
Yes.
You really thought that he was going to be sticking around?
Okay, somewhere in my heart, I think I wanted him to be sticking around.
For what reason?
Because he's a great quarterback. We just didn't have any players that wanted to play for him. I mean, I guess that's his own problem in itself.
Yeah, and that's a good point to bring up, that this team really looked like a different team with Jalen Hurts playing quarterback.
Right, they were actually catching the ball.
Yeah, that, and, I think that Jalen Hurts played a lot better on his feet than Carson Wentz did this season. But with that, I think that if Carson Wentz can get back to being the player that he was,
which he will next year.
Okay, well, I'm excited to see if that's actually going to happen. But, if Carson Wentz can get back to how he was playing before he got injured in the Eagles Super Bowl season, I think that the Colts are going to be very thankful for that trade. But, he's had all of these years to rehab, to get better.
It's been like 3 years.
That's enough time.
What?
Yes, it is.
To play at a high professional level?
I think it is. Plus,
But can you say that he wasn't progressing?
I mean, I think that he was, but not to the point that the Eagles needed him to.
He was just getting. This year, in my eyes, was the best. Not the best, but was the best years after he got hurt. He was using his legs more. His passes were more accurate. It's just the players weren't catching them, nor were they running for yards.
Yeah, but you also have to think about that. He led the NFL in interceptions thrown. He had 15 interceptions, which that's not going to win you a football game, and that clearly didn't help them.
It don't help when your player's not making plays for you either.
That's true, but you also have to think about, these players really rallied around Jalen Hurts. I think that they were looking for new blood to come in. I think that they needed a new way to play offense. They needed something fresh, and I think they really rallied around that, and they made something out of a season that just didn't look good at the beginning.
Could you say they made a season of something?
I mean, it definitely ended a lot better than it started.
Did it? Did it though?
I don't know, but I think we should talk about the deal in general, which was a 2021 third-round pick, a 2022 second-round pick that could turn into a first-round pick, depending on Wentz's performance with the Indianapolis Colts. And this is another thing worth mentioning. The Eagles are taking on a $33.8 million dead cap. That's almost 20% of their cap space on a player who won't even be playing for them.
So why trade him away?
What? Well, is it worth it?
Time will tell. Time will tell. But Miles Sanders is out there too on those Pájaros.
Yes,
so,
and I don't think he got used as much as he needed to last season. I think we can both agree on that.
Oh yes, 100%. I think he needs more touches. I mean, that man was doing everything for the offense.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I heard some rumors that the Eagles could potentially draft Micah Parsons.
Yes, I did see in a couple mock drafts people releasing things on ESPN and other news outlets for sports that some people did have Micah Parsons in, not just the top 10, but where the Eagles are. That could be crucial for them. If they see Micah Parsons as a good fit for their defense, then why wouldn't they draft him?
Hey man, and if he is not a great fit, the fans, we gonna let you know.
Definitely. And with that, we are going to wrap up this episode of Sports Speak. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I am Alexis Yoder alongside
Jared Smith.
We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.